So at the moment, we have the list of rooms actually living in the state of two different components, right? We lifted it up to main yesterday, but we left it in room list, which is silly and lazy. We just didn't bother to take it out. So we should probably take it out of there. We probably don't need it syncing that state in two different components, right? If we're going to move it up to main, it just needs to live in main and get passed down to the sidebar in props. You know what I'm talking about? Main component, we have this.state.rooms, and we sync state with rooms. And in room list, we still do the same thing. This.state.rooms, sync state rooms. We don't need to do that both places. We should not be doing it in room list anymore. We just need to do it in main. So that means we need to remove add a room up to main. So that's still in room list right now. So let's change that. So here's add room from room list. I will move this up to, whoops, I'll move this up to main. Here's my other room stuff. There's load room, there's remove room. So I'll move add room up there too. I don't think it probably needs to change. Should work exactly the same. So I need to take it out of here, which means that any place here that's using it is going to need to get it from a prop instead of from state. Same goes for rooms. So we'll take the state out of room list altogether. It lives in main. We don't need it to live here too. So we'll take sync state out. So that's okay. We just need to pass it down now. So in main, when we load the sidebar, here's the sidebar. We just pass the list of rooms down. Rooms equals this.state.rooms in main. So open up the sidebar, which is a stateless functional component. We'll add rooms to the list of props up here that we get out of the argument. Load room not being used anymore, right? Yeah, that's only used up in main. So rooms is there now. So when we add room list, currently receives users, we'll make it receive users and rooms. Rooms equals rooms. Room list, that's right over here. We no longer need to import base inside room list, right? Not using rebase to sync state anymore. So where do we use rooms? Now this is another point where I'm hating this component. It's just so long and nasty with too many conditionals in it. Too deeply nested. But whatever. So where am I actually using the list of rooms? Okay, I have the word rooms here. That's not a big deal. Here we go. This.state.rooms is not this.state.rooms anymore. It's now this.props.rooms and this.props.rooms. I'll go one better. At the top of my render method, I'm just going to say const rooms equals this.state. Break it out of there. So I have a variable called rooms, because if we do ever change this, props, not state. If we do ever change this, we can change it up here instead of changing it in two places. So just get rooms out of this.props and say just rooms here and just rooms here. And then there was add room, right? So add room, I moved from room list down to here, which means I'm going to have to pass it in as a prop too now, because it's called from in here, right? It's called from the form, way down in the form. So here sidebar, add room equals this.add room. So sidebar, we have add room, and it passes it on to room list. Add room equals add room. Room list, when we get room form, here it is. Add room is this.add room. That changes to this.props.add room. And then we shouldn't have to change anything inside room form. Now again, with all these props going down this low, probably in the real world you would switch to using Redux or something, or at least the new context API at this point, which just isn't something that we have time to cover quite. But I will today or tomorrow give you some links that you can learn more about that if you do want to continue learning React, because it's a valuable thing to know how to use, and this is a perfect example of when you might want to use it. So let's see if we broke everything. I can still change rooms. That's good. I think the real test is, can I still add one? I got rid of almost all of them. So let's add the room. Fortnite. Pew Pew. Battle Royale. Etc. And there it is. It's still there. Cool. So I think we successfully moved that state completely out of RoomList, which before we start doing a bunch of crazy stuff with RoomList just seems like we should get out of the way. So remove rooms from RoomList's state. We are syncing that now with main only. Questions about that? You get why it's silly to do it both places?